Imagine a world where gods and mortals collide in a battle so fierce it would change the course of history. A world where love, betrayal, and revenge fuel a war that lasted 10 long years. This is not just any battle, this is the story of the Trojan War. But how did a simple love affair lead to a conflict so massive? What secrets lie hidden in the walls of Troy? And how did a wooden horse become the key to an empire's fall? Stay with us, because today, we dive deep into the shocking, dramatic, and mysterious history of the Trojan War. Our story begins not with soldiers, but with gods. A single golden apple set everything in motion. This apple wasn't just any apple. It was labeled for the fairest. 3 powerful goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, all claimed it. They couldn't agree on who deserved it most. Zeus, the king of the gods, was caught in a dilemma. Instead of making the decision himself, he passed the responsibility to Paris, the prince of Troy. Paris, young and unaware of the consequences, chose Aphrodite, who promised him the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. That woman? Helen, the queen of Sparta. What Paris didn't know was that Helen was already married to Menelaus, the Spartan king. And thus, a single act of judgment would ignite a firestorm that would burn the ancient world. But this wasn't just a love story. It was the start of a war that would drag entire kingdoms into its destruction. Paris wasted no time. He sailed to Sparta, took Helen by force, and brought her back to Troy. Imagine the rage of King Menelaus when he found out. His wife had been stolen right from under his nose, and his honor was shattered. But Menelaus wasn't alone. In ancient Greece, honor meant everything. He called upon his brother Agamemnon and the greatest heroes of Greece to take revenge. They gathered their armies, swearing an oath to bring Helen back and punish the city of Troy. This was no longer just a personal vendetta, it was a full-scale war. And so the Greek forces assembled at the shores of Troy, ready for a war that would last not days, not months, but a decade. The Greeks laid siege to Troy, surrounding it with their powerful armies. But Troy's walls were legendary, built with such strength that they seemed impenetrable. For years, the Greek soldiers tried everything: attacks, tactics, traps, and ambushes, but they could not break through the walls. It became a war of attrition. Each side had its champions, and each day brought new losses. On one side, there was Achilles, the greatest warrior of Greece. His strength and rage were unmatched. But despite his invincibility, Achilles had one weakness, a single spot on his heel. The gods themselves had made him nearly invulnerable, but it was the choice of a simple mortal who would one day lead to his downfall. On the other side stood Hector, the prince of Troy. He was noble, courageous, and a fierce protector of his people. Hector's bravery became a symbol of Troy's last hope. As the siege dragged on, the fates of these two men would intersect in a battle that would shake the very foundations of the war. Hector's courage was undeniable, but even heroes can fall. After a fierce duel between Achilles and Hector, Troy lost its greatest warrior. Hector's death was not just the fall of a man, it was the beginning of the end for Troy. Achilles dragged Hector's body around the walls of Troy in a display of victory and revenge, a ruthless act that left the Trojans broken in spirit. But Achilles' victory would come at a cost. The death of Hector led to the tragic and inevitable return of Achilles' closest friend, Patroclus. Patroclus, wearing Achilles' armor, led the Greek forces in battle, only to be killed by Hector himself. This loss drove Achilles into a fury, more determined than ever to avenge his friend. 10 years passed, and the city of Troy remained strong, but the Greeks were relentless. They couldn't break the walls until they came up with a plan so clever it would be remembered for millennia. The Trojan horse, a giant wooden horse, hollowed out and filled with Greek soldiers, was presented as a gift, a symbol of surrender and peace. The Trojans, worn down by the long siege and believing they had finally won, pulled the horse into the heart of their city as a token of victory. But that night, as the Trojans slept, the Greek soldiers hidden inside the horse crept out and opened the gates of Troy to the Greek army, who had secretly returned under the cover of darkness. The Greeks stormed the city, and Troy was finally brought to its knees. The city was set ablaze, its walls torn down, and its people massacred. Troy, once a powerful kingdom, was now nothing but ruins. The fall of Troy left a scar on history. Some believe it was the gods who brought Troy to its destruction. Others say it was the relentless ambition of men, but the truth remains a mystery, lost in the sands of time. The story of the Trojan War didn't just end with the city's fall. The surviving heroes, like Odysseus, the master strategist, would face their own challenges in the years to come. The Odyssey, another great tale, recounts Odysseus's long and perilous journey home, a journey that tested his wit and will. Troy itself faded into myth, its exact location a matter of debate among scholars. But the story of the Trojan War, with its love, betrayal, and ultimate tragedy, remains one of the most powerful legends ever told. The Trojan War taught us that the consequences of our actions can echo through history, leaving an impact long after we're gone. From gods and heroes to wooden horses and burning cities, the legacy of Troy continues to captivate us to this day. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from history's greatest battles. And remember, some stories are too powerful to fade away.